People hear me say this all the time, I don't trust the system, and they roll their eyes. They think it's just arrogance or rebellion for the sake of being loud, but it's not that. It's not about chaos, it's not about breaking rules just to break them. It's about seeing the truth most people are too afraid to look at. Because once you see it, once you really understand how this world operates, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to sleep. I didn't grow up hating the system. Like most people, I believed in it. I thought, work hard, follow the path, stay quiet, do what you're told, and eventually you'll be rewarded. School teaches you that. Teachers, parents, society, they tell you, get good grades, get a job, obey the rules, and everything will fall into place. And I did that for a while. But here's the thing, I looked around and realized something terrifying. The people who did everything right were miserable. The people who obeyed the system the most, the ones who ticked every box, every rule, every expectation, they were the most trapped. They were broke, they were stressed, they were replaceable. And the system, this machine we all live inside, didn't care. It kept grinding. That's when I started asking questions. Why do they teach us about ancient poetry, but not how to build wealth? Why do they test us on memorization, but never teach us how to think? Why does a society that claims to care about your well-being make it so easy to stay weak, broke, and distracted? And that's when the realization hit me. The system isn't designed to make you powerful, it's designed to make you compliant. You think you're free because you can post a photo, vote every few years, buy coffee at any corner, but look closer. You're not free, you're managed. Every screen you touch, every platform you scroll, every piece of content you consume is built to keep you occupied, entertained, and numb. They feed you comfort to keep you quiet. They give you small doses of pleasure, notifications, likes, easy entertainment, so you never ask for something bigger, something harder, something real. They don't need to chain you anymore, they just keep you distracted, and it works. People are more connected than ever, yet they feel lonelier, weaker, more uncertain. We've got access to infinite information, and yet nobody seems to know what's true anymore. Because that's the trick. Confuse the population long enough and they stop thinking. I remember the exact moment I stopped trusting the system completely. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't in a courtroom or a crisis. It was quiet. I was sitting in a gym late at night, exhausted from a day of training, and this young guy comes up to me, smart, ambitious, respectful. He says, I want to be successful like you, but I don't know how. I'm doing everything they told me to do, college, work, saving money, but nothing's changing. And I looked at him and I saw myself, the version of me that still believed the system cared about me. I told him the truth. They don't want you rich. They don't want you powerful. They don't want you independent. Because a man who can think for himself, build for himself, and stand on his own is a threat to everything they control. That night, I stopped believing in the system's promises. The system's greatest weapon isn't punishment, it's comfort. They sell you a dream that sounds beautiful. Stability, safety, predictability, a house you can barely afford, a job that drains your soul, weekends that vanish in a blur of distraction. They call it a good life, but it's a prison with velvet walls. You don't even know you're trapped because the cage feels comfortable. They've replaced hunger with convenience, purpose with entertainment, discipline with distraction. And every time you reach for that quick fix, the dopamine hit, the validation, the cheap pleasure, the system wins again. It doesn't need to enslave you by force, it just needs you to keep chasing comfort. Here's the truth nobody tells you. The system is terrified of strong individuals. It doesn't fear riots, it doesn't fear noise, it fears clarity, it fears people who think, who question, who lead. Because every empire, every establishment, every hierarchy is built on one assumption, that the majority will obey. Once you stop obeying, once you stop feeding it your attention, your money, your energy, the machine weakens. That's why the system doesn't teach self-reliance. That's why it rewards conformity and punishes originality. That's why people who think differently are labeled as troublemakers. Because the moment you start thinking for yourself, you become unmanageable. When I say I don't trust the system, I mean I stopped depending on it to define my life. I stopped trusting what it told me about success. I stopped trusting its version of happiness. I stopped trusting its measurement of worth. Instead, I built my own code: discipline, independence, brotherhood, self-respect, values that the system can't sell to you. You have to earn them, and it starts with detoxing from its poison, the news, the fear, the social media algorithms that are engineered to keep you emotionally unstable. Do you understand how powerful you become when you can control your attention? When you can decide where your energy goes instead of letting the system decide for you? That's real freedom. The system doesn't need to fight you physically, it's already in your mind. It tells you to be realistic. It tells you to wait your turn. It tells you that ambition is arrogance and masculinity is toxic and that wanting more makes you greedy. They don't destroy warriors with weapons anymore. They destroy them with doubt, because doubt is the silent killer of potential, and every man who gives up on his purpose is one less leader to challenge the machine. So I fight that battle every day, not against governments or policies, but against the conditioning that wants to keep me small. That wants to keep you small. You'll know you've woken up when comfort starts to feel uncomfortable, when you can't sit still scrolling because you feel the time slipping away, when you start realizing that every easy choice has a hidden cost. That's when you start breaking free. You stop wasting time arguing online and start building something real. You stop chasing validation and start chasing excellence. You stop waiting for someone to fix your life and you take full ownership. And here's the paradox. Once you stop trusting the system, you start trusting yourself. And when you trust yourself, you don't need permission anymore. That's when everything changes. You can't fight this battle alone. The system is too big, too clever, too relentless. That's why you need people around you who see the truth, men who think, build, and push each other forward. Call it a brotherhood, a circle, a tribe, whatever you want. But surround yourself with people who want more than mediocrity, men who hold you accountable, not comfortable, because that's the antidote to the system, unity among strong individuals. Because that's the antidote to the system, unity among strong individuals. They want you isolated, addicted, and afraid. So we build communities of strength, discipline, and independence. That's how you take your power back. Listen carefully. This is the most important part. You don't beat the system by hating it. You beat it by outgrowing it. You become so capable, so self-sufficient, so disciplined that you no longer need its validation, its approval, its permission. You don't fight for scraps, you build your own table. That's what freedom looks like, not rebellion, mastery. So no, I don't trust the system because I've seen what it does to people who do. It gives them rules instead of vision. It gives them comfort instead of courage. It gives them distraction instead of destiny. And if you're watching this right now, maybe it's time you stop trusting it too, not to destroy it, but to rise above it. To build something stronger, to become someone who can't be controlled by fear or comfort or approval. That's the real revolution, not noise, not chaos, but clarity. You don't owe the system your obedience. You owe yourself your potential. So stand up, step out, think for yourself. That's where real freedom begins. And I want you to understand something deeper. The system isn't just out there, in governments, corporations, screens. It's also in here, inside you. Every hesitation, every excuse, every voice that says, maybe later, that's the system talking through you. You've been trained since birth to obey that voice, the one that says, don't risk it, stay comfortable, fit in. But that voice isn't you. That's the echo of a world that benefits when you stay average. When you silence that voice, when you act despite the fear, something inside you wakes up. You stop needing permission. You stop apologizing for wanting more. And you realize, all along, the cage wasn't made of bars. It was made of belief. Break that belief and the world opens up. Because once you taste real freedom, not the kind they advertise, but the kind you earn, you'll never trade it back for comfort again. That's the point of no return.